All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. The Hardwood Nation podcast crew with your boy CL Anthony and my main man Bryce Ward. What's going on, Bryce?
Same old man, just a lot of work. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. So we just want to do something different this week. Usually we do this towards the end of the show, but we want to do it earlier this week. We want to thank all our subscribers for listening to us, for supporting us, and we want to grow. So just keep hitting that subscribe button, share our content, and don't forget to drop comments below. So if you agree with us, let us know. If you disagree with us, please let us know. We may have you on the show one day. Bryce,
Yes, sir.
the NBA is back. We have a game today at 3 p.m. The Nets and the Lakers for the NBA preseason championship.
Yay, preseason.
I hear LeBron and Russell and Anthony Davis isn't playing, so I don't even know who the hell is playing for Brooklyn at this point.
Yep, very little. All preseason. I'm sorry. All preseason tells me is that we're very close to the regular season,
Right,
so I'm happy about that.
we are 2 weeks out. So this week we did have everyone have their media days, and a lot of people were talking about a lot of things on media day. A couple of players were in the headlines. Bradley Beal, Jonathan Isaac, of course. Kyrie Irving had to do his media day from his home because he couldn't be with the team for obvious reasons. So I know you've heard a little bit about what Jonathan Isaac is going through with his situation. I actually watched his interview, and he was very eloquent in stating why he won't get the shot. Um, how do you feel
Mhm.
about some of the talk on media day surrounding some of these players? Even Andrew Wiggins, was kind of defensive as far as answering certain questions. Do you think that this is a witch hunt on the media's end?
Um, I think in a very broad scope, not just NBA. Yes, I do think. Which when you're the few speaking out against the majority, the spotlight will be on you. And then these guys are professional athletes as well, so it makes sense to me um, for people to question them and for it to be a topic of conversation. And I also get where if you're them from their point of view, they're just getting bombarded with these questions, and I guess rightfully so because of the spotlight. But uh, I get where you would be defensive after a while, or like quick to the point, or very dismissive. I get all of that. So it's not surprising to me that they're getting a lot of attention, and it's not surprising to me that it was a big topic on media day, and it'll be a big topic throughout the season with the holdouts, with the players who decide not to get it, especially in states that are requiring or cities that are requiring the vaccine for attendance at all. So a few of these guys are going to be even more spotlit, I guess, than some of the others. But yeah, it'll probably be a conversation piece all season, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think. Look, after 2 days of media day, I was already exhausted. I recorded with Cortez and Kevin
Right.
on the balls in our court podcast, and I told them, I said, I'm already exhausted after 2 days of all the questions about it. But this is something that we're going to have to endure for the season. And like you just spoke on, as those games come when players have to sit, it's going to ramp up again with all the questioning. So I just hope they're okay with it. I hope they prepare themselves for it because it is going to be. If it's annoying for us, it's 1,000 times more annoying for
Yeah.
those guys that's going through it. So
I'd
yeah,
also like to add, it's probably going to be a topic of conversation in everything encompassing like it. It affects everything from our daily lives to our interest in our hobbies. There's no way to not talk about it, and it's pretty much been the entire topic of conversation from the vaccine to just COVID in general for the last 2 years. Anyways, it dominates everything because of how large in scope it is. I mean, it's a human problem, not
hmm
just a United States or whatever problem. It's a so it's just going to be around for a while in the topic of conversation, no matter what you're talking about, in my opinion. Also, the NBA, in terms of other national sports leagues or professional sports leagues, I think has one of the highest vaccination rates anyways. So it's not just an NBA topic, obviously, but it's definitely going to dominate most of the conversation this season,
Yeah.
I believe.
We have I'm going to call them the big four players of course, Kyrie Irving, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Isaacs, and then also Bradley Beal. Those are going to be the big four that's going to be the face of this. Now, the NBA announced earlier this week that their vaccination rate jumped from 85% to 90% in the course of a week. That's a huge jump for the course of a week. So I think a lot of the other players that haven't been spotlighted have decided to go ahead and do it because they probably don't want to face the scrutiny that those big four are going to face going
Yep.
forward. So with that said, we kind of dove into this deeply offline a few days ago when we talked, so I want to do it online. So we talked about Kyrie Irving and his situation. We talked about the dynamics between him and Kevin Durant as far as what I heard that Kevin Durant may do behind the scenes. We also talked about the ramifications of a possible move of Kyrie Irving. So let's just address that here right now because it's great content. So we all know, as of right now, Kyrie Irving hasn't taken a vaccination, which could cost him half the season. Doomsday scenario, it could cost him a couple of playoff series if they should play the Knicks or play the Golden State Warriors, let's say even in the NBA Finals. Okay, so I suggested that the Nets give him a deadline. So let's say, hey, Kyrie Irving, you have to let us know definitively what you're going to do going forward for the season. Are you going to get vaccinated or are you not? So that way we can plan. If he decides to hold the fort down, should the Nets trade
I mean, I think absolutely.
him?
But the problem is, to me, in this situation, the Brooklyn Nets as an organization has set like a precedent with Kyrie and Kevin Durant, which was recently highlighted in detail just how much authority and power they have amongst that organization. And I think Kevin Durant is like the overall in control, I guess, in my eyes, of that situation if he wanted to be. But I think Kyrie is the more like vocal, spoken leader. I think Brooklyn is wants to be as tethered to Kevin Durant as they can be, and part of that initial deal of getting Durant, that a lot of people guessed, I think correctly, that it was a package deal where you had to appeal and be able to pull off both Kyrie and Kevin Durant. So I also question if the organization is ready to just move on from Kyrie in that way, how the talks go with Kevin Durant and see how tied to having him as a teammate he still is with now seeing that Kyrie might miss so much time. Like that's an interesting dynamic in itself is how Durant and Kyrie are talking and handling the situation. So I think from just like a devil's advocate standpoint, if I was in charge of the Nets, I would trade Kyrie now that I have Harden and go to Durant and basically ask, is this enough? Do you feel like you're still happy being here? Like, we can't do anything about this Kyrie situation. If you still want to win, this is what we feel we have to do moving forward. So it's like, are you okay with that? Do you have to, based on the culture we know in Brooklyn now, they have to go talk to KD and they have to be upfront with everything, or they might lose all of them. So I feel like Brooklyn has dug themselves a hole to get this super team. But they're, like we've talked about before, the egos are also big there that it just seems so easy to fall apart. And this is just an example of that. Like Kyrie, rightfully so, having his own opinion and his own rights to choose what he wants to do. But that decision being, I guess, controversial, which is what we've come to know from Kyrie, is like, one of these guys are going to have one of these issues come up, and this will dominate all season long, and we'll have a dramatic. This is worse, almost worse than him having an injury, because
Yes.
at least with an injury, you know what to expect. This is like an indecisiveness, and it's something that the whole team and all the players are going to have to deal with. But to lose Kyrie to it, and not like your backup 3 or 4 or whatever, like that's the big problem. Is Kyrie is going to miss the bulk of the season. Now you can still win with the rest of that team, but you're hindering your team. You're holding them back. And so I don't know. For me, just to get rid of the question, I would trade Kyrie. But you might not even get anything back for him, because if he just says he's going to retire, then what's the point of it all? A money dump for someone? Like I don't get how that would work necessarily. So I think if you're Brooklyn, you just have to think, oh, I'm not going to have Kyrie, because if you do have him 4 games, which you will, you have to just think of it as a bonus. You can't think of him being there all the time, which is a huge, huge problem from a team dynamic standpoint, in my opinion. You can't win deep into the playoffs that way. No way, I believe that. And then definitely if you have to play a home series, or against New York, or like you said, if they made it to the finals somehow, which I don't think they can do either with this situation currently. So if I'm Brooklyn, I trade him. But like I said, that's another whole can of worms you're opening, because you have to have conversations. And then what are you going to get back for a guy who's already openly said he's just going to retire? So they're in a tough situation.
Yeah. I've heard through the grapevine that Kevin Durant is working behind the scenes on convincing Kyrie to go ahead and get vaccinated, since himself and James Harden are vaccinated. They haven't revealed that publicly, but we just know from them being around the team that they are. One thing I'll say about the potential trade, we heard rumors that Brooklyn's not against it, and that's when Kyrie let it be known through sources, hey, if y'all do it, I'll just retire. Kyrie has mentioned retiring before, even before COVID, that he would be fine retiring young. So that's already in his mind. And I always say, once you start talking about retirement, you might as well leave at that point, because you can't give 100% at that point anymore. Once retirement or quitting something that you love creeps into your mind, it's a wrap anyway.
Yeah.
Now, one thing Brooklyn has done, which they kind of started to do last year, even though the three of those guys didn't play that many games together. They kind of made James Harden a primary ball handler when those three were on the court. So that kind of helps Brooklyn just a little bit, knowing that James Harden will be the primary ball handler. And even if Kyrie plays, if I'm Brooklyn, which we know, like you said, the power dynamic there, if I'm Brooklyn, I would just have him come off the bench and just give us that little extra bonus off of the bench. Now, will his ego be able to deal with that? I don't know. But that way, you still have the cohesiveness of your starting unit, okay, going through the season of unknown. But I would like to see Kevin Durant convince Kyrie to go ahead and do it, because from the outside looking in, I don't want, if I'm on that team, I don't want this distraction all season. And then I don't want to necessarily see Kyrie retire so young. But we know he is a very headstrong young man, and there's nothing wrong with that. So who knows what's going to happen in Brooklyn this year? But it will be interesting to see, and it's going to give us a lot of great content to talk about, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
tons, tons
There,
of great.
there's 2 of them and 1 of him. If I'm Durant, I sneak up and I hold him, and then I get Harden to stab him and give him the shot. That's just me. And then deal with the consequences later. If he retires, then you know, deservedly so. But at least I tried.
So the next topic we have today is one that we've been talking about all off season, and we had no idea that this was going to be the biggest story of the off season. And again, this is another topic that we kind of deep dove into this week. Bryce, the Sixers refused to pay Ben Simmons the first part of his contract for the year, which is valued at $8.2 million, because he didn't show up to training to media day. He's not at training camp. He's still in California. How do you feel about the Sixers playing big boy ball with Ben Simmons at this point?
Oh, they. I mean, they did exactly what I thought they should do. Why would you pay someone who clearly doesn't want to be there and doesn't want to uphold his end of the contract that he signed?
Hmm. Hmm.
If he wants to play big boy ball, then he needs to own up to what he contractually signed and said that he would do. Otherwise, you don't deserve any money.
Well,
He doesn't deserve a dime of what he said he or what his contract says he should get if he doesn't show up. Sorry. I don't care how you feel that the organization feels about you. They catered to a lot of your needs and then you disappeared. That's on you. You don't deserve to get paid. Sorry.
hey, no apologies here. But look, I go up there and shoot poorly from the free throw line and won't take outside shots to get $8.2 million because I can grab 8 rebounds.
Right?
I guarantee I can grab you 8 rebounds.
No, you can't. You can't run up and down the court that many times. Stop.
Hey, in a half court set and someone's missing shots, I can grab some rebounds. Okay,
They're
I can
not
still
playing half court sets, and
I
your
can
knees
still do
would
that.
collapse on you.
I can still do that. Just because I'm hitting 40 this year don't mean I can contribute. My main man, Udonis Haslam, is still contributing in Miami in short minutes. Okay,
That's a
so
professional athlete. Do not disrespect that man ever again by comparing yourself to him. I'm not even a big Haslam fan, and I won't let you do that. Come on.
Has Haslam is my main man, and he's the GOAT. Hey, so to get back on track really quick. All right, so Ben Simmons took the first shot at the Sixers by turning away the players and ghosting the team and things of that nature. Okay, now so if you're the players specifically, Tobias Harris and Matisse Thybulle who went over there. Embiid offered to, but we're gonna hold that off for a little later. If you're those players and you say, "Hey Ben, let us come to you, let's talk, let's hash it out," and he refuses, if you're one of those teammates, how would you feel?
um, Definitely like a little disrespected. Like we're supposed to kind of be, despite how you and the organization go. Like, and I think that's the biggest problem. It's just Ben Simmons and the organization at this point. But if you're Ben Simmons, like those guys should still be your buddies, like your friends and your teammates. So like for them to just want to come over and you know why, to just completely be like, nah, don't worry about it. It just means you've completely in your head mentally moved on from that team. But to not give them the time of day is a little disrespectful. And I'm sure he talked to them all back and forth either through text or phone call or something, I would imagine, before they all tried to fly over and see him. um so i I just don't think you turn your teammates away like that. You at least hear them out. um I just get a bad feel for Simmons' temperament and how he's viewing these situations with the team, based on everything we know over the last, like, since he's come into the league, I guess. Um, I just It feels like a prima donna type attitude, and I get how he, I guess, would have an attitude towards like being, I guess, bigger than some of the other players. Like I don't know. I just don't think he's completely earned it all yet, or been in the league long enough to earn the attitude that I feel like he's portraying. Like he's more important to the team than some of the other players, and even though he's shrunk, like we just saw in the most important times when they need you the most. Um, I feel like Embiid is the opposite of that, where he's said the right things and has supported him in the right ways up until just recently when Ben Simmons did turn down the players' meeting. Like I don't know. I don't like anything coming from the Ben Simmons side of this, I guess.
Well,
I get not wanting to be in Philly after everything you've done, but all of this is it's been created by you. And so you have to own up to that and handle it in a respectful way. That's how I feel. I get that you want to move on, because I would probably want to move on too, but there's a right and wrong way to handle it. and I know Philly hasn't been perfect in how they've handled it, but they've done it about as well as you would think a team could handle it, up until the point where right now Ben Simmons has said some border, or at least rumors, and I guess not exact quotes from him, but the general tone of how he's feeling has been slipping out from his circle and his camp. So we get a gist of how he's feeling, and I just don't agree with how he's handled it at all. So um, if you got to move on, move on, but handle yourself in a professional manner, at least. That's how I feel. And you owe your teammates, you owe them the respect and time to at least hear them out. I feel like so.
We've seen this. We've seen something similar recently, and there is a connection here. Rich Paul has been Simmons' agent. He's also Anthony Davis's agent, and we know Anthony Davis forced his way out of New Orleans with a year and a half left on his contract, which was still odd because most people thought, hey, that was too early for a player to kind of make a demand that way. This is the first year of Ben Simmons' contract extension, so effectively he has 4 years left. So this is a situation that we've never seen before. Now, the connection is, of course, the agents who we all know is actually connected to LeBron James as well. I'm from the old school. Agents worked for players. Do you think the agent is making a bad move in backing Ben Simmons and saying, "Hey, this is the best move for you to make for your career"? Because I think it could be career suicide.
Well, I mean, you should have the wherewithal to at least not just take everything your agent says, but also your agent has, like, I'm sure he gets a certain cut of everything. So in general, he's probably trying to make you money, which, he might not be taking into account all of the elements of what it can do to your career, like handling it this way. But I think that's short sighted. I think the agent has probably analyzed this and thought about it as much as anybody has, and just thinks this is going to be okay, or it just might be a player empowerment thing in the fact of like trying to make a, what, I'm just going to do it because this is what I want to do. Ben Simmons, I, I feel like this isn't just the agent talk. Now, the agent might just be more open to this idea than some agents and push for it. That could be a thing too. Like, I'm not saying the agent has no say in this and no opinion, or like he doesn't have some kind of effect on the player's decision, because he has to. But okay, Anthony Davis, to me, like, the agent thing isn't as important as like the situations. Anthony Davis, after years with the team and trying these different things, and and getting hurt and coming, then he moved on, even though he still had a lot of years left in his contract extension. Ben Simmons, all of this, the team has been accommodating Ben Simmons' wants for years. All of this started to happen in the course of this season, and in the playoffs, it like came to a head. Pop's been saying all the right thing, or I mean, not Pop. I'm sorry. Um, the coach, what's his name?
Doc Rivers.
Yeah, just blank. Doc's been saying all the right things. Organization has said all the right things up to this point. Ben Simmons literally disappeared, had no confidence. He did all of this to himself to create the bigger problem. And then the way he's handled it has been the problem. To me, yes, they have the same agent, and like I said, he has some sway in their decision, yes. But ultimately, they should be making the final decision. And Anthony Davis wasn't the problem when he left New Orleans. Not necessarily. Like,
Yeah, but he
they were,
refused to play. That's the pattern. He refused to play. I get what you're
yeah.
saying
But then you
100%.
can not pay them. They can do the same thing and just not trade him. I get it.
Right.
But you have to set a precedent as an organization that you're not going to get robbed or forced into a situation. If the team's willing to move on and just trade them to get rid of the problem, then that's just the world we're going to have to live in for a while until something else happens.
Yeah.
But the way Ben Simmons has handled it is, in my eyes, way worse, and it's just, I
The
don't know. I
angle
just don't like it at all.
The angle I'm coming from is this. I wasn't knocking what Anthony Davis did. What I'm saying is that his handler, his agent, and same agent as Ben Simmons, you're doing the same play. With Anthony Davis, you had a year and a half left on your deal. With Ben Simmons, you have 4 years left. That's irresponsible for the agent to back him on that. It's irresponsible because here's the thing: the agent's number one goal is to make his client as most money as possible. Agents usually get between 10 and 20% of that cut. Here's the deal: you're killing that kid's career. At the end of the day, it is still Ben Simmons' right, but the agent has to have say in it. You're killing the kid's career because after this contract, do you think anyone is going to give him a big contract ever again?
Not unless he proves himself. But yes,
Right.
because Anthony Davis will get another big contract, absolutely,
Would
because
you
he
take?
already went someplace and won.
Would you
But
take?
this is
I'm
the
not.
problem. We don't know what the conversation with the agent was. He's got two premier players. If Anthony Davis comes to you and says, "I absolutely want to move on," be like, "I don't think this is the best option. It might you might lose money because of it because the team has all the power. I don't care. I want to move on. Get me out of here, or I will get someone who can." Okay, I'm going to do it. All right, Ben Simmons. I don't think I can't win with this team. The coach doesn't believe in me. The organization I'm just fed up with. Get me out of here. I don't think it's a good idea. You've got all these years left on your contract. The team has all the power. They can just not pay you. I don't care. Do what you can to get me out of here, or I'll just sit. If
And the,
the players, if your premier players are demanding this of you, which we do not know the conversations they've had, then you do it, or you lose your client. So we don't know exactly what direction they're given, and we don't know exactly if it's the agent suggesting the move. Like, we don't know any of this. That's
well,
what I'm saying.
considering
It's like it makes
considering it's
sense that
happened
there's a
twice,
connection.
right? Considering it's
Okay.
happened twice, we'll agree to disagree on this. But he's being irresponsible because, like I said, he's messing up further bags for Ben Simmons and also himself. And that's just the fact of it. Now you said, okay, Anthony Davis still got paid. Yes, we're talking about Anthony Davis. Anyone would pick Anthony Davis over Ben Simmons any day. I'm not comparing them from a player standpoint. What I'm saying is that the connection is you have the same agent and now you're making the same move. Even though Anthony
Mm-hmm.
Davis' move at that time didn't make sense with a year and a half left on his contract, it makes 1,000% more sense than what Ben Simmons is doing right now. That was my angle. It doesn't make sense for you to just sit out when the first year of your contract. This will be this
Right.
kid's this because
Right.
he's killed his own trade value. That's the thing. You're killing your own trade value. And as an agent, you should be the one to say, hey, look, Rich Paul is going to eat no matter what because he has tons of clients in the NBA. So as his agent, he needs to say, "Hey, you're killing your money. If you don't want to do it the way that I suggest that you do it, then go ahead and find someone else." Like that that's what an agent is supposed to do. Okay? That's all I'm
We
saying.
don't know. We don't know he's not doing that. That's all
He's
I'm
still
saying.
he's still his agent.
Yeah. So,
So
okay,
obviously,
you
yeah.
losing somebody is worse than me losing you altogether as a client. If I can't convince you to just stay, then you're making the choice to lose out on money. You've already made that choice by just saying worst case scenario, I sit home. He doesn't. If Ben Simmons doesn't care about losing money, then what are you gonna do? Just lose him altogether as a client? Then no, you're
Yeah.
just gonna be like, okay, well, if you're not gonna take any advice, I'll just I'll be your representative. Like,
Look,
I
six
don't feel at the end of the day, it's Ben Simmons's decision. The agent works on his behalf. Sure, the
right.
agent doesn't want him to lose money because that doesn't make any sense. So what is he gonna do? Like, just make up shit for Ben Simmons and stall?
No.
No, he has to do what he wants him to do. If anything, Ben Simmons probably looked at the Anthony Davis situation and said, "Hey, you were able to get him out. Get me out. I don't
With
care
a
about
year
the
and a
money.
half
Just
left on
get
his
me out."
deal, with a year and a half left on his deal, Anthony Davis still had a hell of a lot more leverage than Ben Simmons has absolutely no
I
leverage.
know.
Now the
I know, but
curious thing is,
Ben Simmons has made a point to show he obviously does not care about
well,
any of this.
that leads to my second thing though. So now I'm hearing through the streets. You know me in the NBA streets. I'm hearing through the streets that in order to recoup the money because they didn't think that the Sixers would do this. In order to recoup the money, Ben Simmons may actually report but say he's injured, so he doesn't have to play. So if he reports, he still gets paid. So that's on the horizon. So let's see. So who do you think folds first? Do you think the Sixers fold and trade him, or do you think Ben Simmons shows up and has a magical injury and doesn't play for the rest of the season?
I don't know. I think if he reports and everything, and he's like a constant, I'm in your face there every day, and then I'm still a distraction. I still feel like Philly should trade him just for the sake of continuity going forward and not wasting your own money. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think Ben Simmons deserves anything, but I
Hmm.
would get rid of him for a team standpoint. Now, if he came and reported and did what he was supposed to and just said he had an injury and could prove, I mean, I don't know how all that works. Okay, I would just get rid of him for the sake of cutting it out. That's all. But um, Ben Simmons is going to have to earn all that risk. Yeah, he'll get traded somewhere. Someone will give him some minutes, I'm sure. But if he still wants to have a legitimate NBA career where he's a star or whatever, he'll have to prove himself all over again, or he'll just fade into the background like a lot of
Hmm.
players who fade away. So we'll see. But he'll have to earn all of that by playing well and winning games because people are going to knock him forever for this playoff performance.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
you and also we don't even know if he can be the same player before. Everything we saw in the playoffs was a confidence problem for him. You
Hmm.
know, he has an issue. So if he can't get past that, he will never be the same type of player. So
Mm.
we don't know what to expect of Ben Simmons, and he shouldn't get paid big until he's proven he can be that player again. Which there's teams out there I'm sure that take a chance on him, but still he'll be a laughing stock, and then he'll fade away. So we'll just have to see. And I hope he's not too sensitive when he has to go play in Philly because they're gonna
Oh
rip
yeah.
him.
Oh yeah.
He might have a mental breakdown in Philly and be like, I can't play. Like we
I
don't
didn't even
know.
think about that. I didn't. Oh my God. Hey,
He
so
will be the most hated player in Philly by
I,
far.
I can remember a time when Shaq was traded from the Magic to the Lakers. There was a time Shaq missed a lot of games and wouldn't come back and play in Orlando. He would always be hurt. Um, Really quick, I did a poll on the Hardwood Nation's Twitter feed a couple of days ago, and I said should the Sixers trade Ben Simmons ASAP because I didn't think we were going to get to this point. Like after that playoff series and after the things were said, I thought they were going to trade him in the offseason. I didn't think we were going to end up here. So of that Twitter poll, 84% of our nation said that Ben Simmons should be traded ASAP. So that was 84 versus 16%. So that's a pretty high percentage. I thought it was actually going to be more split, like 50-50. I was surprised at that high number that said Simmons needs to be traded ASAP. So speaking of that, and you mentioned something that was very nice earlier when you talked about some of the things that Joel Embiid has said, because he's coming from a team leader standpoint in this situation. But after only 2 days of getting asked questions about Ben Simmons, he kind of, I'm not going to say he lost it, but he kind of revealed how he really felt, and talked about some of the moves that the Sixers made to accommodate Ben Simmons, like you mentioned earlier. How do you feel about Embiid being so candid and saying, hey, we've catered to you your entire career? Like, it's disrespectful for you not to be here. How do you feel about that?
I'm glad he did it so he could exactly put into words what everybody already thought was a good possibility.
Hmm.
I'm glad he said it because I get tired of the charades that the media and some of these players have to put on for the sake of money or being nice or whatever. It's Ben Simmons clearly doesn't want to be a part of the team. Okay, now I can say exactly what I think because he's already started it.
Hmm.
That's how I feel. He's already done the disrespectful thing, so I can at least be honest. And Joel Embiid didn't come off as disrespectful or anything. He just came off as kind of like I'm done with this situation. I'm at least going to be honest about it now.
Right.
So I'm glad that he was so candid because all it did was assure what we had already thought were a strong possibility of what was going on there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
even
yeah.
I mean, a long time ago, Butler Butler gave us a hint of what the problem was.
Hmm.
He told us what the problem was, and it wasn't just a Butler problem. It was going to eventually be a Ben Simmons problem with everybody. That's the problem, is Ben Simmons, not Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so Philly went with the younger guy, and it took Doc Rivers coming in there to really put his foot down and let everybody know who the main guy was.
right. Right.
And Ben Simmons has always had a problem with this or that, or having the team catered to him. Like, he's always the point of the problem at this point. It's like we see where the drama is coming from constantly, whether it's Jimmy Butler or with the team or with, it's always Ben Simmons as a part of the problem. And so Philly has made the choice to go with him up until this point. And Doc Rivers is like, nah, Embiid's the guy.
Right.
Okay, well now look, Ben Simmons wants out.
Right. 1 year. That's all it took. And we
Ben
said,
Ben Simmons is the problem, is what it looks like.
yeah, this thing has been brewing for years. For years, it's been brewing. I've said for at least 3 years that they need to trade Ben Simmons. I said when Doc Rivers gets there, he's going to let it be known that Embiid's the guy. And 1 year into it, now Simmons wants out. So all the ducks were in a row for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It just what for some odd reason, even like you said, with Jimmy Butler kind of hinting of what was going on there behind the scenes, no one wanted to point the finger at the kid, and until he pointed it at himself, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. Um,
Yeah.
and like you said, I don't think he recovers from this. He's if they
Mm-mm.
trade him, he's going to be traded to NBA Siberia. He's not going to get big contracts going forward. He will fade out of the league, and I truly, truly believe that. And it's unfortunate because he is talented, and all he had to do was put in the work to develop a jump shot. He was a jump shot away from being not an all-time great player, but a perennial all-star every year. He's a jump shot away from that. Just imagine this
Mm-hmm.
kid with like Devin Booker shooting or something like that, or even with his idol LeBron James shooting at this point. The kid would be devastating, and he didn't do it. It was all about him.
No. Mm-hmm. And
And
and all
and
the rumors coming out from his camp afterwards, as to like what he wants. He doesn't care about what team he ends up with, only that a team that is catered or built eventually around him.
right,
Like, that's what we're hearing. And so you're not even worried about winning, you're worried about, I guess, spotlighting yourself and showing how important you are, even
hmm,
though you can't make a jump shot. And you shy away at the end of games when, if you're claiming to be the best player, you should elevate your game. So I just don't understand where he's getting the the thought in his head that he has such pull so young without proving anything
right, right.
substantial. So I
We
just don't get the mentality. So yeah, you might get one of these no name teams to crater their roster and try to get you or cater to your game, but ultimately you're going to end up exposed because the team's still not going to win, and you're still going to be the same player. So I don't get. I guess you're trying to prove something, but I don't think you're going to end up proving anything. So he's
the
only
the
going to hurt
irony
himself.
the irony is he said he'll play for anyone. The Minnesota Timberwolves are putting a full court press into getting him, but he'll just be in the same situation there that he is in Philly. So I don't understand the Timberwolves thinking on how do you guys think this is going to work with him and Cat, because it's going to be the same dynamic that he has with Embiid in Philly. Like, I don't get that. Essentially, he needs to go to a team that doesn't have a premier big man. That's what he wants. Well, let's see. A lot of teams now have decent big men. Where are you going to go? Maybe Toronto. I know they've talked to Toronto, so maybe Toronto. Maybe. But everyone else has a decent, serviceable big man who's going to be in your way. Unless he wants to change positions and play center. I don't know what the kid's thinking, but I just think he ruined his career. He's getting bad advice. So we're going to wrap up very shortly. Do you have a player that you want to ask me about this week?
No, not this week. I was gonna wait. We've been going pretty good on that one, but since we had so many topics this week to discuss, I thought I would hold off. on the player this week.
No worries at all. So today, again at 3 o'clock, we have the Lakers versus the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm going to check out the Hawks and Heat tomorrow, and then of course I'm going to watch plenty of Orlando Magic games this year. So thank you for all that you do. Oh yeah, forgot to also mention we gained over 1,000 Twitter followers this week. So shout out to all of you guys.
Nice.
This nation is growing. Thank you all. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. That's going to be it for the Hardwood Nations podcast this week. Everyone stay safe.